Hello, everyone. Today I will be discussing the Family Preparedness Act, California's Family Preparedness Act, also known as AB 495. This law has created strong debate across California because it focuses on immigration, family privacy, and public responsibility. Supporters believe this law protects children and immigrant families against emotional harm during immigration emergencies. Opponents argue that this law weakens immigration enforcement and increases pressure on public resources. In this presentation, I will explain both the pros and cons to the sides of this debate before sharing my own opinion on which argument is stronger. AB 495, also called the Family Preparedness Act, was introduced in California to help immigrant families prepare for emergencies involving immigration enforcement. The law encourages families to create emergency plans in case a parent is detained or deported. It also limits school and child care facilities from collecting unnecessary immigration-related information from the children and the parents. Supporters say these protections help families feel safer using school community services. Critics, however, believe the law limits transparency and makes immigration enforcement more difficult. The law was created because many immigrant families in California fear sudden separation caused by immigrant enforcement. Over the past several years, news stories and research studies have shown that children can experience major emotional distress by situations like this. Some children may lose caregivers, experience anxiety, or struggle in school because of these pressures from immigration. The law is part of California's broader effort to protect immigrant communities and reduce fear connected to immigration enforcement. My question to you all is, do you think children should experience emotional trauma because of immigration enforcement involving their parents, caregivers, or legal guardians? The strongest pro argument is that AB 495 protects children from emotional trauma and instability. Supporters believe that children should not suffer emotionally because of the legal status of their parents or caregivers or any immigration issues faced by the people that are taking care of them. Research by psychology professor Hirokazu Yoshikawa found that the fear of deportation can increase anxiety, depression, and educational difficulties for children and students. Supporters also say families may avoid schools or medical service. This decreases their quality of life if immigration-related fears could be shared with immigrant authorities. By limiting unnecessary immigration-related questions, the law may help immigrant families feel safer accessing education and childcare services. Supporters view the law mainly as a humanitarian effort, focused on protecting children and maintaining family civility and unity. Several studies support the pro side of the debate. The Urban Institute found that immigration enforcement actions can negatively affect children's emotional well-being and school performance. Even children who are U.S. citizens may experience this anxiety and instability if a parent faces deportation. Researchers also found that stress connected to family separation can create long-term developmental challenges. Supporters argue that AB 495 gives families a chance to prepare their emergency plans so children are not suddenly left without caregivers or relatives. They believe the law creates safer environments in schools and child care centers by reducing fear of discrimination. The strongest con argument is that AB 495 may weaken immigration enforcement and reduce transparency. Critics believe laws like this make it harder for authorities to identify and address illegal immigration, which is very important. Some opponents argue that limiting immigration-related information in schools and childcare facilities reduces accountability. Others are concerned about the financial impact of illegal immigration on taxpayer-funded programs such as healthcare, education, and housing assistance. According to Stephen Camarota from the Center for Immigration Studies, large-scale illegal immigration can increase pressure on public services and state budgets. Critics also argue that immigration laws should still be enforced consistently in order to maintain fairness and national sovereignty. Opponents also point to economic concerns connected to immigration policy. California already struggles with high housing costs, overcrowding schools, and pressure on healthcare systems, which all of us can relate to. Critics argue that rapid population growth caused by mass immigration can increase competition for jobs and public resources. Some people believe taxpayer-funded programs should mainly support citizens and legal residents. Others argue that policies like AB 495 may unintentionally encourage illegal immigration because they reduce information sharing related to immigration status, which is important to know. While opponents often sympathize with children affected by deportation, they still believe immigration laws must be enforced fairly and consistently. What would you say? Would you say it's more important for us to enforce our immigration laws or for a child to be still with their parent, although the parent may be having an undocumented status? After reviewing both sides, I believe the con side presents the stronger argument. Overall, I understand why supporters want to protect children, as do I, from emotional trauma, and I agree that family stability is of the utmost importance. However, I also believe immigration laws need to be enforced fairly and consistently. Public services and taxpayer-funded programs are limited and scarce, especially in a state like California, where housing and living costs are already very high. In my own opinion, laws like AB 495 may unintentionally reduce accountability and make immigration enforcement more difficult, which is something I would not like to see. Even though the law is designed to protect families essentially, critics believe it could create larger long-term challenges related to immigration policy and public resources. To conclude, the Family Preparedness Act reflects the larger national debate over immigration policy, family privacy, and public responsibility. Supporters believe the law protects children and helps immigrant families feel safer during emergencies. Opponents argue that the law weakens immigration enforcement and increases pressure on public resources that may already be scarce throughout the country. No matter which side people support, the issue clearly affects many families and communities across California. Thank you for listening, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. These are the resources I used for my research and evidence throughout the presentation. Thank you.